I want to talk to you today about invisible to the enemy. We all have things that come against us in life. People that don't like us. We're dealing with an illness. We lost a big client at work. It's easy to live worried, wondering how it's going to turn out. But David said in Psalm 27, in the time of trouble, God will hide you. He will place you out of reach on a high rock. It doesn't say we won't have trouble. Difficulties may come, but the promise God gives us is He's going to hide us. You could say He's going to make you invisible to the enemy. You don't know how many times trouble has come, but it couldn't find you. Sickness had your name on it, but when it showed up, you were invisible. That calamity, that accident was sent to take you out, but when it arrived, you were nowhere to be found. You didn't know anything about it. You were just going about your day, being your best, and forces that should have stopped you, enemies that should have defeated you, trouble that should have caused you great heartache didn't have any effect on you. Why? You were invisible to the enemy. That's why we can live from a place of faith, a place of trust, not worried. What if my company downsizes and doesn't need me? What if my child gets off course? What if I get this virus? No, turn it around. Father, thank you that I am invisible to the enemy. Thank you that my children are invisible to the enemy. Thank you that my health, my finances, my marriage, my dreams are all invisible to the enemy. David knew what it was like to have opposition and people trying to stop him. 1 Samuel 23, he was living on the run from King Saul. He had done nothing wrong. He was one of Saul's main armor bearers. He would play music for Saul when he wasn't feeling well. But Saul was jealous of David. He was so obsessed with getting rid of him, that's all he could think of. And sometimes when you're doing the right thing, being good to people, the favor on your life will stir up the jealousy in other people. David was in the desert, hiding in caves, doing his best to not get caught. Saul had the most skilled soldiers. He had groups that were specifically trained in tracking people, like a Navy SEAL team. David was a shepherd. He'd been taking care of sheep, a teenager. He didn't have any professional training. He was outnumbered. They had more equipment, more skill. Seemed like he would be easily captured. But verse 14 says, Saul hunted David day after day, but God did not let him be found. God knows how to make you invisible to the enemy. He knows how to hide you from trouble, hide you from an accident, hide you from people that are trying to bring you down. A friend of mine was involved in a situation that was very big in the press. At one point, it was the hottest news story around. Practically every reporter was trying to get to him. But the press was very negative toward him, and he wanted to stay out of it. For the first few months, he had to travel back and forth to another city. The press would get word when he was going to be at the airport. They would all show up. He said, Joel, it was the most amazing thing. I would get out of my car. All these cameras were lined up on the sidewalk waiting for me. I would walk right past them. Not one of them recognized me. They never got a shot of him. One day, a reporter came to his house. He answered the door, but the reporter didn't even recognize him at his own house. He said, it was like God was making me invisible to the wrong people. God knows how to protect you. Just as He can make blind eyes see, He can make seeing eyes blind. He can make you invisible to people and circumstances that want to harm you. David said in Psalm 31, you have not handed me over to the enemy, but you have kept me in a safe place. We all have things trying to stop our destiny, but like with David, God has put you in a safe place. He's not going to let you be found. You may have difficulties now in your health, your finances, your marriage. You could live worried, panic, what am I going to do? But when you know you're in a safe place where God has you hidden, then you can live in peace. When trouble comes, you don't fall apart, give up on your dreams. You know God has made you invisible to the enemy. Saul was so frustrated, he went back home. some of David's own men turned on David. They sent Saul the details of where David was hiding. They gave him the exact location, how to get there, what it looked like, all this inside information. Saul was thrilled. He had his men go do surveillance, study his movements, find out when David sleeps, when he eats, where he gets his food. He went overboard to make sure this time they would catch David. Saul and his men traveled a great distance, and they arrived to where David was hiding. But just as Saul was about to attack, a messenger came riding up as fast as he could with an urgent message. It said, "Saul, hurry home. The Philistines are attacking our city." Saul and his men turned around and left. They never did capture David.